So welcome back to episode 11, where we are building our YouTube search application with inside Flutterflow. If you are new to the series, please do check out this link and get yourself started right from the beginning, and it will get you to where we are right now. And in this particular episode, we are going to focus our attention on creating the page that actually then displays the video. It allows you to play the video, and it'll show you some further details about the video as well. So here we are. This is a little sample here of the application and what we're going to be doing. So in this particular video, we are going to allow you to actually click on the actual thumbnail itself. You hit that, and then further details about the video gets displayed. We've introduced a lovely little SliverAppBar here as well. That looks really, really nice. And of course, you can hit the play button here to preview the video back. And of course, we're showing further details about the video. So let's now make modifications to the application to where we are right now, and let's create these areas of the application. Here we go. So then here we are back in Flutterflow. This is exactly where we left it in the previous episode. So we're going to commence by creating our next page. So just make sure you're in the widget tree. Let's just hit the little plus there and let's create a new page. And so I'm just going to simply hit create blank, and I'm going to call this page a video detail. Just hit create page. And here we are now with a blank page. So the first thing I'm going to do is just organize my widget tree here. I'm just going to move the app bar just up here, so it's at the top. And with the column, we'll come back to that in a second, because that's where we will be kind of padding out our the kind of bottom part of our UI. So what we're going to do, we're going to focus on working on the app bar now. So what we're going to do with the app bar is we're actually going to turn it into what's called a SliverAppBar. And what this gives us this lovely kind of look as we kind of sort of move our drag our finger up the top. The app bar actually sort of collapses and sort of fades into the top of the screen. Okay, but we have to configure that ourselves. So just make sure you've got app bar selected here, and then on the right hand side we're just going to choose this option here where it says collapsible sliver bar. So just select that. That's all that we need to do there, and we're going to give it an expanded height of 280. Okay, so you can see that's nice and tall. We're just going to remove the page title. Actually, we don't need that, so let's just delete that as well. So this is one bit now there which catches a lot of people out, because what they want to now be able to do is they want to be able to now actually make changes to the actual app bar. What you have to make sure that you do is, with the actual app bar selected, we need to choose the option here to add a background widget. So if you just choose that, and then there's this next option that comes at the bottom here called edit in UI builder. So just make sure you've got that selected, because that what it allows us to do is that allow us to now focus on actually being able to configure our sliver bar. We can actually drag widgets actually into that. So let's just delete the image. We don't need the image, so just clamp that down there. You can see that we've got the app bar background. Now inside this we've actually got the image. Now if I never actually selected that option about editing in the UI builder, then you would have found that you wouldn't be able to drag widgets into the app bar background. Okay, so just remember that. Just hit the delete, and then we've can start constructing our widgets. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a column in. Okay, so I'm going to put the column in there. So the column is going to contain two things. It's going to contain a row, which is going to kind of contain our icon to go back to our previous page, and then just below that in our column we're going to actually put the YouTube player. Okay, so let's inside the column, make sure that's selected, hit the plus, and then let's now hit a row. So there's our row there, and with inside our row we're just going to put an icon button in there. So just a little search, and we've got an icon button. Just make sure that's selected. Now we're going to make sure we go over to the properties here on the right hand side. Let's make some changes. So the icon size, we're just going to drop this down to 26. And with our icon color, we're just going to select that, and we're just going to say secondary text. So just give it that kind of gray look. And then with the icon, just choose the add here, and we're going to choose the option of back. So let's just go and click on an arrow back. There we go. And the icon, yeah, that's perfect. So that's all that we need to do. That we'll come back in a second and we'll configure the action there to actually collapse our page. So next up, we're going to add in our YouTube player. So on the little plus here of your column, just hit the plus there, and let's type in YouTube player there. Just select that, and you'll find that we get a placeholder that gets put in to our column. So I'm just going to take off the loop video. We know that when we actually play the video, we don't want it to kind of loop. So that's that pretty well much configured. We don't need to make any actually changes there. So let's just quickly configure that action to actually go back. So let's go back to the icon button up the top there. Let's go back to the action editor. Let's hit add action. And really all that we want to do here is we're just going to just hit the navigate back. So we just, in fact, no, we'll actually go to close dialog there. That's all that we need to do. So So that will just close that down once that actually pops up. So we're just going to quickly make a change to our page, our home page here, just to test it out, just to make sure the actual page is working for us. So just go back to the home page, and then on here we're just going to simply put a very, very quick action on here, and we're just going to say the navigate to, and then we're going to say to video detail. We're just going to change the transition type there to slide left, and then we're going to give it some milliseconds of 200. That will just speed up a little bit as it sort of slides in. So that will be quite simple. That means that everyone that we click on will actually then display the video detail page. It won't actually pass the video in yet. We'll configure that in a second, but let's just quickly just fire this up into test mode just to make sure this is working for us. So here we are in test mode. Let's click on a thumbnail here, and there is our page loading. And if I just now drag now, we get the kind of the SliverAppBar effect. So that's looking pretty good for us. We can just hit the back arrow there, and it will take us back to the screen. So let's go back to Flutterflow and let's carry on building. So now within our video detail page, we now need to create a page parameter now. So the page parameter, what this will allow us to do is from the home page, when we actually hit the thumbnail, we're going to want to pass the video content. So this is the detail of the video, like some of the JSON document, and we're going to want to pass that actually into our actual page as well. The page will pick that up, and then of course we can then populate some additional content on this particular page. So what we're going to do is make sure you've got the video detail page up there. Click on the actual video detail in the sort of the top one in the widget tree, and we're just going to click on page parameters up here to the right hand side, hit the little plus there, and we're going to want to add a parameter. So the parameter that we're going to pass in is just going to be simply video, and then within inside the type we're just going to choose JSON. So we're just going to pass in a fraction of our JSON document actually into this particular page. So hit confirm. So that's all that we need to do. So nothing will change there, of course. And then what we're going to do, we're now going to go back to the home page now, and we're going to wire up the thumbnail to this particular page. We're going to pass that content in. So let's do that now. Let's go over to home page. Let's choose the image there. Let's go back to our details here. So as we said previously, we was navigating to the video details page, but we now need to pass the parameters now. So just press the pass option just here at the bottom. And then of course we want to choose the parameters of the video, which is the one that we've just created. And we're just going to set the value now. So choose the value, and we're going to want to pass in the video item. That's it. That's all that we actually need to do, because we know that each one of these is going to be a video item from our API response. Just hit confirm. So we know that we've got that hooked up now. So every time we click that, we'll be passing that detail back. So of course, we now need to go back to the video detail page. We need to pick up those details and then do something with them on the page. So let's do that now. Let's go to video detail. The first thing that we'll do is we'll probably just we'll just work on the actual YouTube player actually, because that's the first piece, that sort of element, the widget that we got on the page that we can actually configure. So just choose the YouTube player, and down here you've got like a URL option here. We want to remove this one here because this is the sample one that they've put in there. So just choose a URL. Now we want to select combine text, and I'll tell you the reason why we need to do that, because actually what we're going to be doing is we're going to be building up the YouTube URL, the link that we need to actually reference the video itself. So what we're going to do, we're going to combine the text. So the first piece of text I'm going to paste in here is actually the URL of the YouTube. So what you want to put in here is https www.youtube.com/ and then watch ? v equals. Okay, so that's the kind of URL that you would see if you're watching videos on YouTube. Okay, so we just now need to pass in an additional piece of text here. So just press add text. We're just going to choose that, and we are going to choose the JSON path. So let's just click on video here, and we are going to say JSON path. So remember, video is the parameter that we've actually passed into the page. So all we need to do on here is select video ID. So if you were to look into your JSON response you get coming back from the API, you'll see that it's called video ID. Just hit confirm. Hit confirm again, and now we've got that hooked up. So let's just go back to test mode and let's see if we actually get the video carried across. So here we are back in test mode. Let's click on one of the videos here. Let's just choose that one there. And there we go. We've got the video. So we can just hit play now.
The peak widgets yesterday were impressive.
For us. So let's go back, and we just choose another one just for good measure. Let's choose one down here. Let's choose this one here. And the video's up and running. Perfect. Now we're back into our video detail page. Let's just select the app bar here. Just want to turn off the edit in UI builder. So just behind the question mark, let's just press that. Let's just turn that off. So that just means we just hopefully won't make any more mistakes if we're moving anything around in the app bar. So let's now focus our attention now on this particular column. This is the section now where we're going to start displaying some video content. So we've done this in many places in the application before, but let's start doing that now. So let's add in a row. So the first row that we're going to put in there is of course the video title itself. So just press the little plus there. Let's add text in, and then within inside the text we're just going to choose this up here. Now we know that our video has been passed into the page. Okay, we can just select that. We can say JSON path, and then we can actually now put the actual title in there. So I think it was called title. Let's double check our API to make sure we've got that right. So here we are back in Rapid API. This is a response that we got coming back from the search. So we know that we're passing in this particular section here, which is our kind of a video, this bit here. So we know that so we've got $, which means we're actually at the root of this particular section, and of course title is the one that we want. So that will be passed in for us into that particular text field. Let's go back there. So we know we got that right. Let's just hit confirm. And let's just work on some padding and some styling here on this particular text field as well. So with our row selected, let's just choose that. Let's put some padding on. Let's put 20 at the top there, 20 at the left, and say 20 on the right. And then inside our text in there, of course, we're just going to make sure this expands right out there. So we've got the full width there, and of course that'll wrap down. Let's just change the actual font size to 16. We'll keep that semi-bold. I think that just gives it a little bit more context on the page. So before we move on to the next section, I just wanted to point out that I had a little video anomaly, and I've just come back to show you that what I've done is I've added an additional row here on the left hand side here. You can just see this is the one that we were talking about. Then we've got the row, and then we've got a row with another text widget in there, and the text widget is just has the dollar description snippet. Okay, so we just added it on the JSON path description snippet and just confirm that. I just wanted to point that out before we now move on to the next piece where we talk about creating a component for this particular row. So on the home page then, let's just select that, and it's this particular section there we want to turn into a reusable component. So the way to do that, let's just sort of drill down into this particular row. So we've kind of got the top there. Inside our list, you've got our column. With inside our column, we got our row, but inside our row, if we just keep drilling down, we have this row here. So we want to turn this into a reusable component, so we can use it in both places. And the good thing about components, of course, is that you can create them in one particular location of your application, and then you can then use that in many different places, but you can come back to the component, make a single change, and it'll be reflected through the rest of your application. So the way to do that is just right click on the row here, and we're going to say convert to component. And I'm going to call this component video stats, like that. Hit create component, and it will be presented like that. So you can kind of see, I could just sort of bring it out a little bit there. You can kind of see it there. And as you can see, it's just really just created this component for us. This is kind of the top level, and it's got our row. This is exactly what we just saw on the previous page. But of course, we now need to sort of configure this up now so we can actually pass parameters into the component, which then can be picked up with inside the component and then displayed. So the way that we do that is just make sure you've got video stats selected at the top there. We know that we need 3 pieces of information to pass in. So you can see here we need to pass the author's title in there, the view count, and the publish time text. So with video stats selected, let's move up to the right hand side here and choose component parameters. So let's just select plus there, add a new parameter there. So the first one we're just going to call this is author, and that's going to be of type string. Just hit add parameter again, and on this one we are gonna pass in view count, and then that's going to be an integer there. So it's just going to be a number, and then finally the last one we're going to pass in is the publish time text. So let's just select published time. There we go. I'm just going to pass that in as a string. So 2 strings and 1 integer, that's all that we need to do. So just hit confirm. And then what we now need to do is we now need to change our widgets here on the left hand side to use the parameters that we actually pass in instead of using the JSON references. So the way that we do that is we just make sure that we've got the first one selected, which is the author title. So just make sure it's selected there. And then up here, we don't need this anymore, but we're just going to click on this little option here. We're going to say component parameters, and we just simply want to choose author. And then on the next piece of text here, which is the views, which is a text combination, all we need to do is just change this one here. Just select that option there. We'll say component parameters, and of course it's going to be the view count, and hit confirm. And then finally on the text down, or just hit confirm there, and then on the text down here it's going to be the publish time text. Just select the option there. Let's go to component parameters, and we change it to publish time. That's all that we need to do on that one. So now we need to go back to the home page. Of course, we now need to pass those parameters into our component. So here we are back on the home page, and I've got the video stats component selected on the left hand side, and you can see here we've now got 3 parameters that we can now populate. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go here, and we're actually going to start making those changes. So just press the little option there, and we want to choose video item. So this is the specific JSON block that we're actually going to pick out. This is the key that we need. So just go to JSON path, and we're just going to choose the option here. So if you remember, the actual author was author.title, and hit confirm. And then on the view count, we just need to choose that and say video item, and we're going to say JSON path. And on this time, if you recall, it was called stats.views. Hit confirm. And then finally on the publish time, just choose that option there again, choose video item, and here it was just called published time text. Just hit confirm. So that's it. That's all that we need to do. So if I just now quickly fire this up in test mode, we can just make sure that everything is working as we need it to. So here we are in test mode. You can see I've actually made a problem here. We can see the author's name coming in and the views, but we seem to have a bit of a problem here. So it's a typo on my part. So let's just move back to Flutterflow. Let's actually just choose the video stats there. And of course, yeah, it looks like I've made a bit of a mistake here. So here it's clearly I didn't choose JSON path. So of course, if you had been watching that and just see me make that mistake, I did say that we're likely to make some mistakes along the way. So that's all we need to do. Just put the $.publish time text in there, and we should be good. Hit confirm. Let's just go back to test mode. Let's just do a reload. And there we go. So we can see here that that's resolved that particular problem. So we're looking in good shape there. Of course, if I now choose a video, we now need to work on actually adding that component in there. So we're going to do something very, very similar to what we've just done. So let's do that now. So back on the home page, let's move now to the video detail page. And within inside this particular row, quite simply, all that we need to do is actually select the row here. And we just want to select our component, our little diamond option up there. And we're just going to choose video stats. There it is. Just within inside the row, let's just put our padding on there as well. So on that, we do left 20, right 20 and top 20. Just give it some even sort of spacing, and we might make some adjustments to that in a minute. Maybe it might be a bit too tall, but that's good. So here we are. We're just going to do exactly the same thing now. We're just going to go to video stats. We now need to select these parameters. I'm going to quickly fill those in now and spare you the time watching me do it. So you go, I've added those details in there. You can see here we've got the author.title, the $.stats.views, and the publish time text. If you just simply select one of these, you can see here that it's actually using the video parameter that we're actually passing in. Just hit confirm. Let's quickly just double check that again in test mode. Let's just do an instant reload. Choose a video, and you can see here that we're passing the title in with all the details that we need. So that's great. So you've just seen there how to simply create a component. Again, that works really, really well for us. So let's now move back to Flutterflow, and let's just put a few more bits of detail in on the UI. So inside the video detail page, we're going to start adding some extra sections into here. So within inside the column, just hit the little plus here, and we're going to add a divider. Okay, hit divider. That's a horizontal divider. We're going to give this an indent of 20 on the left and an end indent of 20. That just kind of brings it in off the sides a little bit to be a bit more in keeping with the rest of the page. The row that's just above, actually, we can see there we need a bit of a gap. So within inside the actual row itself, let's just put a bottom padding of, say, 20. That should just bring it down a notch. I've just noticed actually that I think we in here inside the text, I think the padding was in there actually, whereas everywhere else we've put on the actual row. So I've just noticed that, again, a little bit trigger happy here. Let's just remove all of that all of that from here. So that's on the actual text itself. Let's go back to the row and let's just add 20 on there. So that just gives it a bit more consistency with the rest of the page. There we go. So that's we got the kind of the divider in here now. So now we're going to start working on this particular section here. So we will in a moment create a new API call, okay, into Rapid API to bring back channel detail. But firstly, let's now create another entry up here on the column. So just hit that, and we're just going to put another row in, and then inside that row, we're just going to put another piece of text. Now inside that row, of course, I'm just going to do the same thing again and not make the same mistake as I just did. So let's put 20 there. Let's just put 20 off the top here, and then just put 20 on the right. Inside this particular text, we're just going to label this up now. So let's just call this more content, and let's just change the actual I think, yeah, we'll keep the font size is that size at the moment. Just change the primary text color to just a secondary text, just give it that bit of grey look. And I think actually what I might do is I might just take the boldness off and just come to normal. That's good. So that's just going to give us that. I might actually, for good measure, I think it might be wise to actually increase the font size to 16 actually. Let's make it a little bit more like a heading. And I think that little row at the top there, I think maybe that spacing is a little bit too high. So just at the top there, let's just drop that down to 10, which makes it a little bit better. And of course, just on the bottom there, we'll also, inside the row, just give that 20 there as well. So we've got 20, 20, we've got 10 there, we've got 20 there. So next up, we now need to create a section that's going to be for our channel content. Okay, so if you remember back to the original design, if I just bring that up now, let's have a look here. So you remember here that we, when we originally back many moons ago, it feels now, that we actually was going to create this section here, which is going to show some thumbnails and with some video content detail there. What we decided to do, we decided to actually bring back additional content from the author's channel. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. So let's start working on that now. So let's just clap some of these down here. Let's just bring that down. Okay, and just up here and inside our column, let's just add another column in here. Column. There we go. And this is columns. We will turn it into a kind of to dynamically pull in all of the data. So we'll actually create the children in a second. But let's just pad out the UI at the moment. So inside a column, if you remember back to the design, we had the thumbnail on the left, and then we had the title, and then we had the description. So let's do that now. Let's add in a row. And then inside that row, we're going to want to add in an image. So there's the image there. We're just going to choose image. And then to the right hand side of that image, we're just going to add in then another column. So this column is going to contain another row here to represent the first entry, and then just add another row in as well. And then what we're going to do inside this particular, the first row that we just added, let's just add in another text field, and then in this particular row, let's just add in another text field. So that's kind of just got us to a good starting point here. So let's just move up to the row. And the very first, what we're going to do on the row is we're just going to bring this in by 20 here, and then on the right hand side, we're just going to do another 20 as well, just to bring it off the side. And what I also recommend that we do here at this particular stage is just put a bottom sort of padding in of 20. And what that will mean is that when we start repeating all of these, we'll get that separation between each row. So let's move over to our column. Let's make some changes there as well. So let's expand our column out. So it's the full width there. It expands right out. And let's just work on the text in here as well. So just choose each of the text items here. Just expand those out and just do the same one for here as well. So we've got the full width. And then inside the row, let's give our row a little bit of padding there at the bottom. So let's just choose, say, let's choose 15 there. Just get a little bit of spacing. And then inside our actual row, we're going to want to just move the alignment up, the cross alignment up to the top, so we can bring everything there. Let's choose our image, and let's put some padding here on the right hand side. So let's just choose, say, 15, just to move it away there, and that should be good for us. So what we now need to do we need to focus our attention on referencing our new API that's going to retrieve in the channel content. And then we'll come back here, and then we'll configure this up to connect to that API and then pull some data in. So here we are back on Rapid API. You can see here, this is the search one that we've been using so far. We need to focus our attention on this one called channel, and the particular API call that we need to make is into this particular one here called channel videos. We want to return back the author's video. So just choose channel videos, and you can see here, this is the URL that we're going to call. So what we're going to do is we're going to quickly set our API up now in Flutterflow, and we're going to put this API call into our GET request. So we'll pop back here in a second, we'll capture that. So let's go back to Flutterflow. Let's go back to the API calls option here on the left hand side, and the next API call that we're going to make, just going to press the plus here, and we're going to say create API call, and the API call that we're going to call this is retrieve channel videos. Okay, and this is the GET request that we're going to make. So let's just go back over to Rapid API. Let's just select this request here, so let's just copy that. And let's move back over to Flutterflow. Let's just paste that into the GET request field. So we're now going to focus on creating some other parameters in our headers as well. So if you recall that we need to pass 2 headers into this. We actually did this on the search. We actually need to do it here as well. So just choose add header, and we're just going to move back over to Rapid API. Let's just pull those in as well. So the first one that we're going to call is called X Rapid API key. Just select that. Let's just paste that in and then put a colon, and then go back over to Rapid API, and let's just pull in your key. Now obviously your key will be different to mine, so don't worry too much about that. Just make sure there's no spaces. Let's just choose the next one. Go back over to Rapid API. Let's choose that one there. Let's go here, put a colon in, go back here, and just get that final piece in there. That's it. So just paste that in. So that's good. Now just move back over to Rapid API, because we need to look at what we now need to pass in. So if you just scroll down here, we've got these optional parameters. So you can see here the ID will likely be the actual channel ID of the author. So we're going to create this ID field now in Flutterflow. So let's just go back over to variables. We're going to say add variable, and we're just going to simply call this ID, and this will be, well, it's just going to be a string for us here. It's not going to be a list. It's going to have no default value. And then with our query parameters, we now need to set that up. So just choose add query parameter, and of course it's called ID because that's the ID within inside Rapid API. We're going to say the value is going to be from a variable, and of course it's the one that we just created called an ID. So you'll see there that when we actually test this, we'll see that the ID parameter will be added to the actual GET request here. So let's move over to response and test. Now we need to pick up a channel ID. I just wonder whether the one from Rapid API is going to work for us. So let's just take this particular one here, and let's copy that, and let's just put that into this particular field here. Let's do test API call. And there we go. We're getting the contents back. So we've been here before. This is all of the this is what we were using previously in a very early series, just to kind of to check and make sure that we're getting everything back that we need. So I think we're good. Now let's move on. So let's scroll down now to this particular section here. We now need to add the actual JSON path in that's going to bring us down and filter out just to return back videos for us. Okay, we don't want to see any other channels or anything like that with inside here. So just hit on add JSON path. And then here, we're going to now navigate a bit deeper now into our JSON response. So we know that the first one is called contents. So you can see the response preview on that side there. We're just going to choose .star though, and we're going to say .video. So this will just ensure that actually, if you look here on a preview, we're just narrowing down a little bit into a list of videos. If I just scroll this down, you can see here, this is returning back a number of different videos. So this will mean that when we're actually within inside Flutterflow itself, and we're actually sort of navigating down to a particular key in our JSON, when we're trying to reference in these keys inside our application, we know that we don't need to go too deep. We're right at that particular level. We can just reference these directly. So that's all that we need to do. Just hit the add call option there, and we just need to add a name in here. So we're just going to call this one contents. That's absolutely fine. And just hit add call. That's all that we need to do. So our API is now set up. So now let's configure our UI to use the API. So here we are, of course, now on our video details page, and this is the section that we now need to focus on. So if we could just move up here, the bit that we need to change is on this particular column. So we're going to repeat our channels, our videos that come back from the channel with inside here. So just make sure column selected. We're just going to move up to the backend query. We're just going to choose add backend query. And of course here, there's going to be an API call, and the API call that we're just going to select is the retrieve channel video. So just choose that. And then we're going to need to edit the API call. In fact, we can add the additional variables in as well. So let's pass that a variable in here. We're going to choose ID because that's the one that we selected. And of course, the value is now going to be a JSON path onto our video that we've actually passed into the page. So the video that we pass into the page is going to have a channel ID within inside it. We need to pick that out and we need to pass that in to the ID parameter. So just choose video here. We're going to go up here. We're going to choose JSON path. And within inside our JSON path, actually, we know that we're returning back an author within inside our API response. And we're going to choose channel ID. We know we have a channel ID within inside that particular key within inside our JSON response. Just hit confirm and just hit confirm again. And that's all that we need to do here, of course. And the next step is going to for us to generate the dynamic children. So just choose that. And the variable name we're going to call this one is going to be, we'll just call this channel video. And then we are going to just choose this here, and we're going to actually then say it is the retrieve a channel videos response, and we are good to go. That should be all that we need to do. We're just going to choose content here because that's the one that we've actually created with inside our API call. Just choose confirm and just choose confirm there. And we just need to say OK, and then you'll get that look now with inside our column. There's one final thing that we just need to do here quickly is just choose column, actually the actual column itself, go back to the properties, and we just want to make this scrollable. So we know that this is when it pulls off the screen, we can then scroll up with inside the UI. So finally, the last two bits that we need to change here is to our text here and of course our image as well. So let's just choose the text here first. We go up here, choose the text there. And we're going to choose the channel video item, which is the one that we just created here. We're just going to say JSON path, and the JSON path that we're going to include in here is just simply title. Hit confirm. So we're going to make a little change to our application now where we've got hello world here. We're going to want to replace that with the video stats detail. But there is one difference, is we don't want to actually display the author's title actually with inside this section. So we're going to make a change to our component now, and we're going to actually put a component parameter that will allow us to show the author's title. And we'll make the changes retrospectively through the application as well. So let's keep it simple. Let's do that now. Let's go back to the component, and we're going to go back to video stats, and we're going to create this additional component up here, component parameter. Choose at parameters, and here we're just going to say show author like that, and we're going to set this to be a Boolean. Okay, so be true or false, and that's all that we need to do. And then within inside our actual widget tree here, we've got text and an icon. So firstly for our text, we're going to want to put a conditional visibility on. So let's just choose conditional visibility. And up here, we're just going to put a single condition on, so choose single condition. We're going to say the first value, which is the show author. If that is equal to true, then that will mean that the actual author's title will be displayed. So let's just hit confirm. One little trick is we can go in here and we're going to want to make a copy of this. So just go up here and just choose copy variable. We can now choose the icon on the left hand side. We can go up to conditional visibility. Let's just turn that on. And then inside here, we can just simply hit the paste. And that will put that in exactly as we just did just a minute ago. Let's say just happen to select it. So just hit confirm. And that's the only changes that we need to make to our component. So let's just move back over to our pages, and let's just go to our home page. And what we're going to do is we're just going to choose the video stats component here, and we're just going to make sure that that's selected to be true. So we know that we're going to see the author's title. And let's go to then the video detail page, and at the top here, we're just going to make sure that's true. So of course, if it's not selected true on yours, just select true there. And then down here, we're going to add the component into this row. So just hit the row. Let's click on the component. Let's click on the video stats component. Let's now delete this piece of text. Now, inside the video stats component, we now need to pass in the values that we need to support the values that needs to come out. So just for good measure, we're just going to pass in the author's name here anyway. I know we're not actually using it, but we're going to pass it anyway. So let's just choose the channel video item. Let's go to the JSON path. And I believe the author's title, I think it was author, and then .name, sorry, it's author.title, isn't it? Because that's what we've just got up here. So just hit confirm, and then on the view count, let's just choose that as well. Let's go to the video, the channel video item. Let's go to JSON path, and then here it's the same as what we got at the top. And I believe it was stats.views, I think it was. Let's just hit confirm. And then on the publish time, we just need to do the same thing here again. Just go to channel video item, choose JSON path. And here, I think it was just called published time text. Just hit confirm. And of course, we're going to want to keep this one just with a check off because we don't want to see the author title. So let's spin this up now and let's test it out. Okay, so here we are in test mode. You can see here that we're seeing the author's title there, which is really, really good. If we hit the video, the thumbnail, we can see here that we're seeing the title there. But the magic is just down here, we've now got that turned off, so we don't want to see that. As you can see that we've got an overflow error here. So what this is looking like to me is that we actually haven't defined this column here as scrollable, which means that all of our content is all running off the actual bottom of the application. So we can go back and correct that. So let's move over to our column here. And we can see here that the column is not scrollable. So we just need to select that. That's all that we need to do. Let's go back to the test mode. Let's just fire that up again. So here we are in test mode. Let's just hit that and we should see the loader. And there we go. Perfect. So it looks like we've got all the content coming back as we expect it. So there's one final thing that we need to do, and we need to sort out this thumbnail icon here. So let's just go back over to Flutterflow. Let's just go back to the image and let's just sort out the path itself. So just choose that. Let's go to the video, the channel video item. Let's go to JSON path. And in our JSON path, of course, this is very similar to what we did before. We need to say thumbnails, and we're just going to choose the 0, and we're just going to then choose URL. That's all that we should need to do. Hit confirm. Quickly go back to test mode. Let's give it one last quick reload. And there we go. So we're on the page now, and you can see here that we've actually now got the thumbnails now loading from the videos. So there we go, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this. We're really getting close now to finishing this application. I think there's some few more tweaks that we can do in the next one. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do like the video. Of course, that really does help the channel out. And of course, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please do. There's going to be loads more of these types of videos to come in the future. This is just one series, but we're going to be putting further series together where we're just going to start building on our knowledge as a beginner, and hopefully you'll advance your skills as well. So thanks for joining me, and we'll see you in the next one.